You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network. You're listening to the Dolphins Talk Fan Series, introducing you to some of the Miami Dolphins' biggest fans. If you'd like to nominate a fan to appear on the show, shoot us an email at dolphinstalk1977@gmail.com or send us a message on Twitter at DolphinsTalk. And now, here's today's episode of the Dolphins Talk Fan Series. Hello, Miami Dolphin fans. I'm Josh Katzker, co-host of the Same Old Dolphin Show from right here at DolphinsTalk.com, and welcome to what is truly a very special episode of the Dolphins Talk Fan Series, where we introduce you to some of the Miami Dolphins' biggest fans. I'm telling you, it's a special one today. Listen, by now you know Miami Dolphins. They have one of the widest and most diverse fan bases in the entire NFL. They got fans in all 50 states, in countries around the world. And that's why we started this podcast series, to help our listeners and our viewers get to know some of those fans better. Some of the fans we talk to are people you already know very well. Some of them will be people that you are meeting for the very first time. And I can tell you that the guest that we are going to have on today is somebody that, if you've been hanging out here on DolphinsTalk.com for any period of time, it is somebody that you know very, very well. And we're going to get to that person in just a minute. But first, I want to remind you, if you're watching this video on YouTube, hit that like button right there. Go ahead, click it. That thumbs up, go ahead, click that button. Now, go ahead and click that red button that hits subscribe. Subscribe to the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel. Lots new content coming your way on the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel, live streams of the Dolphins Talk podcast, live streams of the Same Old Dolphin Show, and more YouTube exclusive content as well as we go through the offseason and get closer to the regular season as well. So again, if you haven't done so already, smash the subscribe button and like this video on the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel. If you're listening to it in podcast form, hey, head on over to youtube.com, do a search for Dolphins Talk, all one word. Find this video, click the like button, click subscribe. We thank you very much for that. You're also going to want to make sure that you're visiting DolphinsTalk.com each and every day for all of the great content we got coming your way. We got columns, analysis, so many podcasts, not just the Dolphins Talk podcast, but you've got the Same Old Dolphin Show, Fins Up, Fans Down, Two Old Dolphins. Dolphins Talk Weekly with Kevin Dern. So much good content coming your way. So make sure you're subscribed to DolphinsTalk.com daily, wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you are. Leave us a rating, leave us a review. We appreciate it very much. We appreciate your help in growing the DolphinsTalk.com family. And of course, I also have to mention that it is summertime, so it's lawn mowing season. And I'm not just talking about the grass outside your home. I'm talking about the grass in your pants. That's right. I'm talking about Manscaped. Manscaped is the leader in men's below the belt grooming. So make sure you head over to manscaped.com. Hit the promo code. Use the promo code Dolphins Talk. You're going to save 20% off of your order. You're going to get free shipping. So whether you're just ordering the ball deodorant, the ball toner, the ear and nose hair clipper, the weed whacker, or if you're getting the brand new Lawnmower 4.0, you're saving 20% off your order at manscaped.com with the promo code Dolphins Talk, all one word. So do it. Use the promo code Dolphins Talk, all one word, at manscaped.com. You'll get 20% off and you'll get free shipping. Your balls will thank you. Well, Miami Dolphin fans, we're here today on what is truly a very special episode of the Dolphins Talk Fan Series, because our guest today is the owner and founder of DolphinsTalk.com. That's right. The man, the myth, the legend, Mike Oliva is joining us today on the Dolphins Talk Fan Series. It's an opportunity for us to turn the tables on the guy whose idea this show was to begin with. And now he is going to be sitting in the guest chair. It's a fun show. I hope you enjoy it. So here it is, a special episode of the Dolphins Talk Fan Series with our very special guest, Mr. Dolphins Talk, Mike Oliva. Mike, how's it going?
Josh, I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. I am fantastic. I'm enjoying the onset of summer, getting some warm weather, getting to be outside a little bit. It's kind of nice. You know,
Really
Central New York, you kind of live for these 3 months of the summer all year long.
We absolutely do, because from like late October till like April, it sucks. It's cold, it's snowy, it's not fun.
Yeah, seriously. It's like, it's maybe not quite as bad as it is in Buffalo, but it's not much better.
Anything's better than Buffalo. Anything is better than Buffalo. The
literally
armpit of America.
Anything. Literally anything.
Buffalo, New York makes Foxborough look like a think tank. It is just brutal. Buffalo, one of the worst cities in America, and I'm not afraid to say it.
It's always a fun day when you start the show with some Bills slander. And we're off and running here on what is actually a very special episode of the Dolphins Talk Fan Series, because you're Mr. Dolphins Talk, and you're joining us today. We're turning the tables on you, Mike.
Yes, this was your idea, and I agree to it, which I'll let you know if I regret it in about like 45 minutes or so. No, it's fun because, look, it's the off season, and we can only debate Tua Tagovailoa, the offensive line, Myles Gaskin, can Andrew Van Ginkel replace Kyle Van Noy so many times before it becomes repetitive. And I think for the listener, it becomes very boring, because how many times can we speculate on the same 3 to 5 topics? And there does come a point where, like, we have built this community, which is what we put the thought process in with this fan series anyways, this community of Miami Dolphins fans, whether through Facebook, Twitter, various social media outlets, or people who people who are not on social media, who listen and just send me emails per se, and to get to know them. And Josh, as you know, because you've hosted a bunch of these, I have a list of like 20 names. And for those of you who have emailed me and reached out, on social media, say that they want to be on the show, I promise we're going to get to you. It's just taking longer because we have so many people who want to be on the show. But this show is unique because, this is the site I created. And this is the thing that's brought us all together. I've met you through this site, Tom, your brother Aaron, Ian, Kevin Dern, and so many other great people we have on our site. And, of course, all the people who watch and listen to us. So I guess talking to me might be interesting to a few people out there. We'll see. I might suck. I might suck and be a total bore. That's right. Okay.
You might be fine as you're fine as a host, but as a guest, you might be pretty miserable. I guess we're gonna find out.
Bad. Yeah.
So we're gonna do it. It's kind of a special episode of the Dolphins Talk Fan Series, and we'll give you some of the basic questions that we give everybody who comes on the show. But maybe we'll also talk a little bit about DolphinsTalk.com and how it came to be. And if you're a longtime listener to the podcast here at DolphinsTalk.com, you've probably heard the story before on one podcast or another. It's certainly been told before. It's out there. But if you don't want to go digging through all the archives, maybe we'll give you a sort of truncated version of the history of that website and how that came to be.
Little Cliff Notes version. Yeah,
absolutely. That's right. So maybe we'll get into that a little bit here a little bit later. But first, Mike, we got to start this off the way we start off every episode of the Dolphins Talk Fan Series. Where are you from and what do you do?
I am from Syracuse, New York. I've been here my entire life. I went to college up in this area as well. So lifelong Central New Yorker. Don't live far from you, which for those people who don't know that, we had lunch recently. It was very nice. And what I do, I work in the telecommunications industry as a project manager, which I won't bore everyone with that, but it's a very stressful, fast-paced job. That's what I do in my 9 to 5 when I'm not, talking or ranting and raving about the Miami Dolphins.
That's right. And he is single-handedly responsible for any time a recording episode of the Dolphins Talk podcast with Tom Ernessy and Tom's internet craps out. It's Mike's fault. Just know that.
Not any longer. Those days are over because little bit of breaking news. Tom has moved, and he's not going to have the same internet provider anymore. So the internet provider he is switching to, I don't want to say their name.
Listen, he drove you out. He drove you out. You ran him off, Mike. He had to.
Well,
he found another provider.
He had to sell his house and move. But yes,
that's how bad the service was.
Yeah,
he had to move.
It was just the internet. Yeah, exactly.
Mike, so listen, you're a Central New Yorker. You're here, Central New York. Grew up Syracuse, New York, whole life. How does somebody in Syracuse, New York, become a fan of the Miami Dolphins?
Well, it's a two-pronged sort of story. Number one, my grandfather was a fan of the team. And you have to remember, of his age, and, he's long passed on now, there's not really – the NFL back in, like, the 60s, 70s and such, there wasn't a big presence in upstate New York. Sure, you had the Bills, you had the Jets and Giants, but there's not like that one team. And I don't even know how he became a fan of the team, but he became a fan of the team and loved my grandfather. So I followed whatever he was doing. So that's part of it. The other part is, as you know, living up here, the Bills and fans of the Bills are obnoxious people. The Jets, nobody in their right mind wants to root for the New York Jets. The Giants I got no beef with, but, it's like the Giants are like boring, kind of. I mean, that's fine, and they win Super Bowls, and God love them. They're, strong franchise, good franchise with a long, rich history. But then Dan Marino comes on the scene, and nobody's seen nothing like that really before, especially in the early 80s. Nowadays, everyone throws the ball for like 1 million yards. It's like no big deal. Back then, that was like new, it was fresh, innovative, and how could you not fall in love with Dan Marino as a player? In fact, my grandfather and live up where I live. Combination of things, but that's how I became a fan.
That's awesome. And so what is your earliest memory of the Dolphins and watching them?
Yeah, early 80s. So I'm 43 right now. I want to say the Marino Super Bowl year where they lost. That's probably around, I'm like 6 around then. 6 or 7, 6, I think. That's probably the earliest memory that year. The early years of Marino, like 84-ish. So I remember like the 85 game against the Bears, obviously. I stayed up and watched that game as a child. So I remember that. And I remember being a fan. I remember the day they were in the Super Bowl against San Francisco. And so, yeah, that year probably.
Okay. And so starting from then all the way up until today, who is your all-time favorite Miami Dolphins player?
Well, for those watching on YouTube, you can just look behind me. I got a Marino jersey hanging on the wall.
There it is.
There's a Marino autograph picture on the wall. What you can't see in front of me are 2 more pictures roughly the same size. One of the helmets behind me is a Marino autograph. I got to meet him when he came up to Syracuse, New York in 2005 for an autograph show, which was a thrill. So, and plus I've got to meet him other times when I've been down to South Florida and stuff. Very short and very quick meetings, but Dan Marino is the man. And for any Miami Dolphin fan of a certain age, he is the guy you grew up watching or the person that, is the face of the franchise.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, current day Dolphin fans, just don't understand what it meant to have that pillar of the franchise who was always there and who was always leading the team and was the beating heart of the team. And really the Dolphins had 2 for the longest time. It was Marino and Shula, and the 2 of them were were really the beating heart of this team for the longest time. And the Dolphins haven't, I guess the closest thing the Dolphins have had to that was probably Zach Thomas and Jason Taylor when they were here.
Yeah,
but they didn't win. Right. They weren't on
teams that were good. I mean, they snuck in the playoffs, maybe win the first round game, get blown out the second. They didn't win. And there is, and I've sort of spoken about this on previous podcasts, it's a sign that I'm getting older. It's a sign some of us are getting older. But there's a segment of the Miami Dolphin fan base who, like the younger generation, who, never saw him play Dan, or they just started following it like the last year or 2 when he was playing. Which, let's be honest, as much as we love him, the final year or 2 of his career, he really was just an average quarterback. He wasn't the same Dan Marino from 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, even into the early 90s. And, you talk to those fans, you can always tell. I always can tell how I don't want to say smart, but how educated of a fan of the Miami Dolphins is when you ask him who's your favorite all-time player, and if they rush out and say Ricky Williams, I just like chuckle, laugh, and I'm like, okay, I can't have a serious conversation with you. Yes, you might have liked him as a player, watching him run, watching him play, but Ricky Williams was like here for a cup of coffee, and he quit, and then he came back and failed a drug test. It's like, if that's how you sort of measure your fandom of the Miami Dolphins, it's like, really? It's like you really missed out on a golden era. Maybe they didn't win a Super Bowl, but you knew they were in the mix every year.
It's true, but I think in fairness,
I understand. It's not their fault.
When you come into, you're right. You come into the period of time where you're really paying attention to who they are and what they're doing, and it's hard to have the same connection to a player when you're watching them via YouTube videos and things like that, as opposed to when you're watching it live. So
I understand. I get it. You can't get mad at someone like, you should have been born sooner. Like, they had no say in the matter. But it's just like, if you. Ricky Williams, he's a nice player, and for people who say he should be in like the Ring of Honor, no, he shouldn't be in the Ring of Honor, and I'd be very surprised if it ever happened, for various reasons. But look, once again, not really a knock on Ricky, great player, all that stuff, but for those fans, I feel almost sorry for them because they did miss out on a golden era with Dan, and they didn't get to enjoy the moments like you and I did.
Yeah, but maybe there's another golden era on the horizon.
That's what we're hoping for. And I think there's some fans really pulling for it. Yeah, that's what we're hoping for.
So, all-time favorite Miami Dolphins game or moment?
Oh, God, there's a bunch. I could say like the 85 game on Monday Night Football against the Bears. But that's kind of cliched. One of the games that I love, and I will still sit and watch to this day, and like the first half of the game stunk, actually, was Marino in the playoffs against Montana when Montana was with the Chiefs. And Marino hit that last-second touchdown to Mark Clayton and Joe Robbie. That was a hell of a game, and one game I really enjoyed. And it's just because it's two legends just going back and forth in a playoff game, and you see the greatness of both, and Dan just comes out on top in the end. That's one of my favorite games.
Yeah, so many to choose from when you're talking about Marino.
When you're going back to that era. There's also a lot of crushing losses, too, that I could name that really cost me lost hours of sleep at night, as a child.
I'd rather not go down
It's a positive show. We're staying positive.
Yeah, don't want to talk about playoff games in San Diego.
That one, like the 85 AFC Championship game when they lost to New England at home. Not either.
Yeah, well.
They probably would have beat the Bears again in the Super Bowl, but let's not go there.
Yeah. All right, here. So I think I know where you're going with this answer, but which opponent do you dislike the most?
Well, there's a clear-cut answer. Let's just say the Buffalo Bills are number one. And I'm not even going to go there. And as much fun as I have on all of our podcasts, picking on the Bills and saying silly little bad jokes about the city of Buffalo, they are very good-natured about it. And I do go on various podcasts of fans of the Bills. They still welcome me on. I don't even know why. Because it's good-natured living. It really is. Look, they're a good team. In 2021, I think they're one of the three best teams in the league, and they have a very good chance of finally winning a Super Bowl. That's just being honest and not lying. But the Bills are the team I dislike the most. I'll give you a number. Should be a number two. The Jets are the entire AFC East we really just don't like. So, it's almost like kind of a cliche which order. It's probably Bills, Jets, Patriots in that order. Patriots, yes, I know they're probably cheated and all that stuff at times. But they also won because they were just good. And it's tough to be upset to be upset with a team that's just good at the end of the day. And maybe they cut some corners here, cut some corners there. You know what? I'm sure the Miami Dolphins in their history have done it once or twice too in some other way. We just don't know about it. I'm sure every team has. It's not worth getting worked up over, I think, a lot.
Sure. It makes sense to me. And, I think as the power structure of the AFC East sort of shifts and flows and changes over time, some of the order of those teams sort of shifts and changes as well in certain ways. Yeah. But yeah, the Buffalo thing, we're really now reigniting that rivalry from the late 90s, I think.
That's going to be fun. I hope so too. right now they do have the upper hand like they did in the 90s, but that's going to be fun though, because once again, for people of that age who didn't live through that, those were some wars, man.
Oh
Those were
yeah, and
hostile wars.
just think about how you're going to feel the next time this Miami Dolphins team goes into Bill's State or whatever Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Orchard Park, I just call it.
Yeah, whatever they call it.
Halloween
It's always Rich Stadium to me.
Exactly, Rich Stadium. It will be Halloween night or Halloween day, I guess, this year.
If the Dolphins go in there and win that game, oh, you're going to be feeling good, and that rivalry is going to get spicy, and it's going to get spicy quick.
How ironic is it that Brian Cox's son plays for the Bills?
I know.
It's kind of hilarious.
It's so perfect. It's so perfect. You want, like, there are some videos out there of Brian Cox talking about, his famous incident at Buffalo. I highly recommend, because that'll give you a sense of how the Dolphins really felt about that particular rivalry, the players and the fans themselves.
I'll give a plug to our friends Seth Levitt and OJ McDuffie. Find their show at the Fish Tank when they spoke to Louis Oliver. He has a Brian Cox story that I won't even repeat on YouTube or on our podcast network. That is just amazing, from one of those games up there in Buffalo. That is absolutely unbelievable. It's one of the best stories I've ever heard.
Brian Cox is one of my all-time favorite Dolphins, just because of the character he was and the way he played the game. I just love that guy, but I digress.
He really is amazing.
So you've obviously been fortunate enough to see the Dolphins in person. You've been able to go down, a couple of times, particularly in recent years, as you know, and been credentialed for that. What is your favorite moment seeing the Dolphins live?
It's not one of the games in Miami. There was a year when they played the Bills in Orchard Park. Jay Fiedler was the quarterback, and it wasn't a huge comeback, but it was a big. They put up a bunch of points late to really seal the game. And it was just so cool to see. Jay Fiedler had a heck of a day. I think Leslie Shepard was one of the big wide receivers on that day. And it was a big comeback late in the year. It was like late November, early December in Buffalo. This is probably early 2000s. So the Bills aren't that Super Bowl team every year like they had been, but they're still a very good team. I think they might have like Rob Johnson that year, if I remember. They were still, not great, but good. And Miami went up there and just cleaned their clock pretty much. That was probably the best in-person game. Here's the worst game. One of the first games I went to see him play was in Cleveland '93 when Marino got hurt. I was there for that. And the next play, in comes Scott Mitchell, throws an interception at the 3-yard line, I think. And some guy for the Browns runs it back for a touchdown. And this is the old Cleveland Stadium, which was just a piece of garbage. And the place is literally shaking and moving. And I don't think the Browns scored the entire second half, and Miami came back and won. That was good that way, but you saw Marino literally get hurt. Like, in his whole career changed from that point on. So I was there for that. It was a win, though.
Right. Well, I won't ask you this next question, because if you've been listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast this offseason, you know how Mike is feeling about this team and how it's going as we head towards the 2021 season. So we don't need to spend any time talking about that, because you've talked plenty about that.
And there'll be more shows. Yeah, there'll be more shows. Yeah.
Exactly. We're gonna be going all summer long here. So when you're not talking about the Dolphins, when you're not making podcasts, when you're not making YouTube videos, what are you doing? Like, what do you do for fun around Central New York?
There's a few things. I don't want to make it sound like I only do this or I only do that. I enjoy, hanging out with friends, obviously, trying new restaurants, stuff like that. I enjoy watching vintage or like older TV shows. I like watching new movies, especially good television. Movies nowadays, really, movies aren't the same as they used to be, to sort of slide off on a tangent. Like, you think of the movies we saw like in the 80s or 70s, there are some vintage movies like The Godfather and stuff like they don't make movies like that no more. Most of the movies these days are like superhero, comic book, or like rom-com. So I'm really not a big movie guy, but like TV shows like the Breaking Bad, the Sopranos, and like I love shows like that. Right now, as I am recording this, there's only one episode left of Queen of the South. I don't know if you're into that on USA Network. It is amazing. So like that's a show I'm into. Like TV shows like that. I'm also big into Syracuse University athletics, being up here. So I watch the team, primarily the football team and the basketball team. But stuff like nothing crazy. Hang out with friends, watch my shows. Onondaga Lake Parkway is always fun. You know about that. I'm sure most people don't have an idea what that is, but it's a nice little parkway up here in Central New York with trails and stuff like that. So that's regular stuff.
Excellent. So what is you mentioned Queen of the South, but now it's recommendation time. So what is your one official recommendation, whether it's piece of music, movie, a podcast, a non-Dolphins related podcast, or TV show? What is your one recommendation for all the people out there?
Let me see. Well, one show I watch, it has been off the air recently, but if you're looking for something to stream or binge, is Suits. The show Suits, which was also on USA Network, which had Meghan Markle, which everyone knows Meghan Markle, was an amazing show. One of my favorite shows. It went off the air like a year or two ago, I want to say. Great show. I enjoyed. Everyone, I recommend if you like smart, funny dramas. It's not really a comedy. It's more of a drama that's like fast-paced, witty. Suits is a show for you. Queen of the South, like I said, I think it's just amazing. You can check it out if you haven't. Those are probably the two I'd recommend.
All right, those are good recommendations. So everybody check it out. USA Network, Suits, and
USA
Queen of
Network.
the South.
It's like I work for Peacock TV or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Mike does not receive any money from NBC.
NBC Universal, no, nothing.
Yeah. And then, all right. So, and that brings us to this website that you run. Most people, everybody that's watching this has heard of DolphinsTalk.com by now. So how did you get into the whole idea of blogging and doing and later on podcasting? Because if I remember correctly, you were kind of one of the first people that really started creating a sort of Miami Dolphins presence on the internet.
I was, and it's sort of a two-pronged story. So to go way back, like 2000-ish, 2001-ish, internet still kind of new. There's no social media. There's no like YouTube really. And I mean, it might have been around, but not like how it is now. It was like very different, even if it wasn't around. So one day, to get news on the Dolphins or to, get information, you either had to live in South Florida and turn on the radio or get one of the newspapers in South Florida. There wasn't really like if news happened, you would have to wait a day at least for it to be out there. And then it'd have to trickle down some way through a message board or something to get to someone who lived out of town. So I was sort of searching the internet just for anything Miami Dolphins related. And I ran into someone who had a website. And it was like what we would now call a fan site, a fan-run website. And it was just like nuts and bolts, nothing. It was just one guy putting up his thoughts and opinions, putting up some news. I'm like, that's kind of interesting. It's cool. I sent him a message or like an email, and we just got talking. He's like, hey, you seem like a cool person. You want to sort of like what we would now call a blog, write for the website. And I'm like, sure. I mean, I'm a fan. I have my opinions. I can put it online and share it with everybody. And from there, me and him would like grow this site, and we would add some other writers, and we'd have a ton of commentary. Anytime news broke, we get it up on the site. And there were other websites around back then. FinHeaven.com was still around, who we now sort of partner with a little bit. Fins.com was around, but they were really kind of just a message board too, with like a news aggregate, so they would get news from other places. Our site was more interactive. We had a message board, news, information. And I did that probably up to 04, but where the big break on that site for me came was 02 or 03? 03. I'm driving home from college. No, I'm out of college. I'm driving home from work. And on the radio, I think it was the Tony Bruno show, which was a big deal back then. And I'm listening, and Ricky Williams' mother calls in. and she is like upset with the host about something she said about Ricky, and it was amazing. Like a mom like calls into a show and is ripping the host for saying stuff about, her son. So I'm like, oh, I got to interview her. She's going to be a great interview. So I'm looking online, and how can I reach out to her? Ricky Williams had a foundation at the time. His mother ran the foundation. I find this webpage. I mean, at the time, nobody's looking for this stuff. And I see her email address is right there. So I send her an email, and I interview her. And, she was great, as I thought she'd be. Very strong opinions. Loves her son, and since her son plays for the Dolphins, hence she loves the Dolphins. So I reach out, and then after the interview, I go, hey, would you like to, write once a week for us? Or, predict the games for us each week? And I'm like, just for fun. And I think it was a deal where, and she was like, okay. Just like matter of fact, okay. And yeah,
sure.
Because at the time, you have to remember, people knew what the internet was, but it wasn't like it is today, how it's like Twitter can be toxic and people are just like shouting people down. And it's like, it wasn't that. It was very nobody quite knew what it was. People knew what it was, but nobody knew what it was.
And it was a lot easier. It was a lot easier in that time to just send somebody an email because you found their email address, and people weren't getting bombarded with the kind of spam in their email boxes that they're getting now. And so they get an email and it's a real person, and you're like, oh, well, I'll just respond to it.
Yeah, and it wasn't also negative, which nowadays everything just seems to be negative, and everyone seems just to be pissed off at the world, whether it's something about politics or sports or the news or the weather. Somebody's yelling at a cloud because it's raining today. It's like people are just pissed off, and it wasn't that back then. So she every Friday she would send me an email where she'd pick 3 or 4 games and then pick the Miami Dolphins game. She even told me up front, just so you know, I will never pick against the Miami Dolphins. And I'm like, I understand. That's fine. This is just for fun. So she did that for a year. Very nice lady. Her name is Sandy Williams, and she was great. And through that, one day, once again, signing online, I get an email from Alex Marvez of the Sun Sentinel. And he goes, I want to interview you. This is great. You got Ricky Williams' mom picking games on your website. This is amazing. So I was interviewed by Alex Marvez, and it went into the newspaper because back then, I don't even think they were online, although now I did find the article online. I don't know. I don't think it was online in 2003, but it's online now. But, it went into the newspaper about our website, me, the whole thing with Ricky's mom picking games for our site. And I think even in that article, I trashed ESPN, which I look back and go, what was I thinking? I actually trashed ESPN in the article. Like, she's better. You tune into ESPN and you got these people who don't know nothing. I got a mother of a player right in front. It was really over the top. But, and from that point on, the site exploded. Because once again, people who didn't know about the internet, who still read the newspaper, like the physical newspaper, reading it, seeing it, and it's like, what's this website about? Traffic went up. We got more attention. We would get it would be easier to get other people to interview. I made a ton of connections. Long story short, that website ends because I'm in my early 20s, right out of college, have a job, making good money, and there wasn't enough hours in the day for all this. And it's like, there's no money involved once again. So it's like, after the 2004 season, I'm like, okay, we're putting this to bed because it's a hobby that's become too time consuming, take off a lot of years. Fast forward to 2011, a little bit older, have more settled life, not that scramble that you got in your early 20s of maybe finding that right job or, scrambling to make a few bucks, have a little bit of a stable lifestyle, have a house, all that stuff. It'd be fun to blog again. So 2011, we are coming up, as I just told you prior to us recording, on our 10-year anniversary here in a few weeks on the site, and just started
the 10-year anniversary.
10-year anniversary for DolphinsTalk.com. Started DolphinsTalk.com. Now, in 2011, when we started to today, the world had changed. Nobody needs a fan site no more to get Dolphins news. You can go on Facebook, Twitter, whatever, to get it instantly. So the stuff I was doing with the previous site, some of the foundations there with this site, but not really. We've had to adapt and change with the times because you're always changing and adapting. So DolphinsTalk.com comes to life, and I've met great people along the way, like yourself and your brother Aaron, Tom Ernestine, Ian Berger, and too many names to even begin to mention who are on our staff. And, it's a collective group effort. We don't make any money, as you very well know. It's a passion project. It's a passion project for diehard fans of the team. And we've grown over the years. We didn't have a podcast to start in 2011 because who the heck knew what podcasting was in 2011? Nobody
Right.
really knew, really. Exactly. But, over the course of time, past 5 years, 6 years, I don't even know when we had our first one. I want to say 2016, maybe 2015. I don't even know. We started a podcast. We do, and if you find those old shows, which we probably still have them archived somewhere on the site, they're probably not the best, but because everyone's new. But over the time, you get some good people, upgrade some equipment, technology changes. And I think our podcast, I'll put them up against anybody's when it comes to the Miami Dolphins. I'm not saying any other podcast is bad. I will never knock any site that has a Miami Dolphins podcast because, as you know, the amount of time, work, and effort that goes into it, hats off to anybody who does it because it is not easy.
Absolutely.
I know some people think, just, flip on a microphone, start talking. It's not that easy. It's not that easy if you want a good one. There's a lot of work. So I will never knock any other Miami Dolphins podcast ever because I know the time and effort that goes into it. And just over time, you meet good people who are also fans of the team who, have a like-minded thought as you. And we put out good content. You've been a big help with our site, especially with some of the audio, video stuff that maybe is not my strength, but is your strength. But that's like the short history of Dolphins Talk and our 10-year anniversary this upcoming season.
It's really awesome. I think, it really goes to show you. And really, I think putting in the time to do it is one thing, and then the effort, and then sticking with it. Many people have started, so many people have started a blog or a Twitter account, even a Twitter account, right? You do a Twitter account and you have it for, a little while and you're doing it and you're like, this is too much time. You walk away and you give up on it, and I guess that's the message to anybody out there that is, trying, maybe you're just starting up on something, a project. Maybe you're doing a podcast or a YouTube channel and it's not really, it has nothing to do with the Dolphins. Whatever it is, it takes patience and you gotta spend some time in it. And you gotta commit to it, right? You've got to commit and give it food. It's just like everybody. You got to give it food. You got to give it water, and you got to give it sunlight, and you got to keep doing it over and over and over again. And eventually, that plant is going to bloom into something.
It's like the old saying: "It took me 10 years to become an overnight success." It's like it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. And I see a lot of other sites, not even about the Dolphins, just in general. It could be about anything. Who people come in and they see, what we do or what some other sites do, and they want to just, they want the same audience, they want the same type of following, and they just want it like that, and it's not going to happen. You got to put in the work. And like podcasting, here's a quick story. When we first started doing podcasting on this site, I refused to do it. Tom will tell you this. We had another guy named Randy, who was also a big help in the early days of our website. They would do the podcast. The thought of me getting on a microphone and sort of speaking, not that it's really public speaking, because as you can see, I am in a room all by myself, but it felt like public speaking. You know how people get nervous in any form of public speaking. I just did not want to do it. I knew what the podcast had to be. I knew what the podcast should be. I knew what people would want to hear, but I didn't want to actually get in front of a microphone and do it. And after a while, I became more comfortable. I became more open to it. And, my early days as a podcaster, I sucked. And some people might say, Mike, you still suck. Okay, maybe I do. But, it's, I didn't go to school for broadcasting. I didn't go to school for that. So it's not a natural, and it takes time and practice. And, those were the early days. And even up to like a few years ago, if you'd have told me we're going to put you on YouTube, I would have been like, you're out of your mind. You're lucky I'm podcasting. They're going to put me on the screen like I'm But once again, the early days of myself in front of any type of camera, I probably sucked. And you might say, Mike, you still suck. And you might be right. But the point is, you get more comfortable in time doing that to where it's, at least I think, our content with everyone who's on camera or everyone who's behind a microphone is high quality. As you know, we get people reaching out to us all the time who want to do stuff with our site, who want to be on our network. And I'll say, and I have to check them out first. I'm not just going to put anybody on here. We've grown something. There's a trust with the audience. There's people who have an expectation when they click on a podcast, that's with our site, what they're going to hear. And sometimes you have to say no to people because they're just not where they need to be on our site. But I think what we do now, I think everyone that we have on is very comfortable. I think we have a wide range of hosts, which is good. If everyone was the same, everyone sounded the same, it'd be boring. It would suck. But I think we have a wide range of hosts, and what we do and what we put out is very good and very entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, listen, it's growing and it's developing and it's still growing, this past season was the year of the YouTube channel, and the YouTube channel suddenly emerged, and now that's all happening. And so, and now things are just going to continue to grow and grow. And, Mike,
we have meetings all the time.
We're having chats all the time.
We're having chats all the time with ideas, throwing them out there. What do you think about this? How would this work? Who's going to run with this? Because I can't do everything. Who's going to be the sort of lead on this project? Can somebody run with this? Even like the fan series. We spoke about the fan series a year ago. We didn't do our first show till what? Like January?
Yeah,
it took
right after
a year of prep.
Ended.
Yeah, it took like a year of prep. And because if you're going to do it, you want to do it right. You got to come up with like graphics and intro for the podcast. You got to come up with a set of questions that might sound interesting. You got to know who you're going to have on. There's so much behind the scenes work that people don't see that, I'm not saying, oh, look at us because we're working so hard. It's not that. It's just if you want it done right, you got to prepare, you got to plan, and it's a lot of back end work that is really involved with every aspect of our site.
Yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, it's again, it all comes down to the fact that this is a team. We love the Dolphins, and we love this group that we have together, and the product that we've been able to put together. We like doing it. It's fun. Yeah, it's fun to do, and we enjoy the work that we're doing so much that we're all working full-time jobs, and then on top of those full-time jobs, then we come and do this on top of that. And we love it. We have a great time, and we love interacting with, I think, everybody that we've had an opportunity to interact with. Everybody that follows us on Twitter. Well, most everybody that follows us on Twitter. There's a couple knuckleheads.
I always say this, and I have to remind, not you so much, but some other hosts on our podcast network and stuff. Our audience who follows us on Twitter is minute. Like, I want to say 10 to 15%. Most of our listeners aren't on Twitter. Most of our listeners have heard about our website elsewhere. I've done spots on SiriusXM NFL radio, some ESPN radio affiliates, not the main national feed, like smaller city affiliates. They hear about our site, they hear about our podcast various ways, or maybe they heard about us on Instagram or they heard about us on Facebook, not Twitter. And at times, I think, and I do it myself as well, so I'm not perfect by any means. We get caught up in the world of Twitter, and we're doing shows for Twitter when 90% of our audience is like, what the hell are you guys talking about? Because they're not on Twitter. And that is something because Twitter is a double-edged sword. It's great for instant feedback, instant news, instant reaction, but it can be toxic as hell sometimes, where it's just a middle finger to the world by everyone who's on it, who hates everything. They're going to crap on everything. And I like just not to be in that bubble. Yes, I'm on Twitter, obviously, but it's like you don't want to get caught up in that world because it's not the world most of the people who visit our site and most of the people who listen to our shows are in. We have to broadcast to everybody and not just that vocal minority on Twitter. And it really is the vocal minority. Now, we have a lot of great fans who found us on Twitter. We love our people on Twitter. Not knocking them. I'm just saying we have to understand that for us and our site, that is a small sliver of the people who listen and who visit us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That being said, make sure to follow us at Dolphins Talk and at Amplified to Rock on Twitter. Make sure you do that. But yeah, anyway, so listen, this has been a fun episode of the Dolphins Talk Fan Series, Mike. As always, we end every episode by asking our guests to get their plugs in. So here you go, Mike. Plug the Twitter, the YouTube, the Facebook.
Okay.
Get it all out there. Get the website. Well, I'm sure you've got this memorized.
Yeah,
right
if the
by
past
now,
hour hasn't been a plug enough, go to the website, DolphinsTalk.com. We have a bunch of new commentary up. We have some videos up. We have some original podcasts. I know it's the off season right now, so news is kind of slow. So it's, not, but whatever's out there, we put it out there. Whether the news is positive or negative, we don't filter. We give you what's being spoken about with the Dolphins any which way. Follow us on YouTube, and when you follow us on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. And when you watch the videos, smash that like button, because Josh, that's what the kids say. Smash the like button on YouTube.
Smash it. So, don't just click. Smash.
Yeah, smash the like button. So listen to or watch our shows on YouTube as well. We're also going to have more new YouTube content coming between now and the start of the season. We'll probably ramp that up closer to the 2021 kickoff, which will be here before we all know it. What else? I don't know. Oh, man. Hey, let's throw in a plug for our friends at Manscaped, Josh. Manscaped.com.
Okay, Manscaped.
Let's just throw it, because you probably already plugged them at the top of the show. We're going to plug them at the end of the show. Manscaped.com, Lawnmower 4.0. Use the promo code Dolphins Talk. There it is. Use the promo code Dolphins Talk. Save 20% and get free shipping. Folks, if you have not used the Lawnmower 4.0, you are missing out. You are not living life to its fullest. You are not living your best life. Manscaped is the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, okay? And the Lawnmower 4.0 has taken things to a new level with the LED light, with the smooth handle, and just the all the features you need to sort of groom down there. And by down there,
do you say smooth handle?
Yeah, well, to hold it, the smooth handle, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, I see. I listen. This is a Manscaped ad, so you can be talking about anything.
Hey, we're not that kind of
family show. This is a
family show. You can listen to with your children in the car. Yes, Manscaped.com. Use the promo code Dolphins Talk. Save 20% and get free shipping. I guess yeah. That's all the plugs. I don't know.
It's good. Yeah, and I am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page.
Oh, yes, our good friends. I am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page. The official home on Facebook of the Miami Dolphins podcast, and also our friends over at FinHeaven.com. Go to FinHaven, or FinHeaven. I always say that wrong. FinHeaven.com.
Don't get it wrong.
I know. I will get yelled at.
They'll come after you.
FinHeaven.com. You want to go to the largest Miami. For those of you who are still into the message board, they are the largest Miami Dolphins message board on the internet. Interact with fans all across the globe in message board form. Our good friends over at FinHeaven.com.
There it is. Those are the plugs. Thank you for joining us on a special extended episode of the Dolphins Talk Fan Series. We like to keep these short, but listen, when the boss is on, we go long. What are you going to do? If the boss is on, we're going to go.
It's always weird when people say that to me. You're the boss. I'm like, really? Am I? It's a free sort of hobby. Am I paying? It's not really a boss.
He's Mr. Dolphins Talk.
I'm the owner and CEO. Damn it! I want to be addressed as such. I'm just kidding.
He's the Jack Tunney of DolphinsTalk.com.
How many people do you think get that reference?
Nobody.
We're all going to be Googling it now.
There is a fraction of this audience, I'm sure, that crosses over that knows that's the Jack Tunney reference. But
and the rest will be on Google right now. Who's Jack Tunney?
Everybody, who is he talking about? That's what happens when you get these old guys on the show like us. It happens. But anyway, folks, thank you as always for listening to the Dolphins Talk Fan Series. Thank you for visiting DolphinsTalk.com. Thank you just for being part of the Dolphins Talk family. We appreciate each and every one of you, whether you're on Twitter or not on Twitter. We appreciate you, and thank you for listening, and thank you for being part of the ride. And we will talk to you again next time. Bye-bye, everybody.